Welcome, Billy Bones here. It finally happened. Statistically, it had to. I got the luck I needed for the first segment, and I can finally move on to the second. Now, you'll note in this segment, it's possible to save about another minute, but I think I'll save that for somebody who's crazier than I am. I'll talk about where that minute comes from. This opening segment, there's one fairly difficult trick that happens at the beginning. If you fail that trick, it's about 3 minutes in, you have to reset. If you get the trick, there's still some luck sitting behind it. So, poor execution, you're resetting at 3 minutes. Bad luck, you're resetting at 10 minutes. The entire segment is 16 minutes in game time, and we'll talk about everything that goes into it. Now, this opening cutscene is only for Western audiences, where you get to see the cool castle and wizards and curses and everything else. In Japan, it just starts straight with Munchie. The reason they did that, they figured that Westerners would be confused. Wait, I'm playing a small, fluffy creature, I thought it's an RPG, I'm just gonna play the Final Fantasy. Where in Japan, they're familiar enough with it. They're like, oh, this is cute and fun, and I'll realize what goes on. Now, the idea in this opening trick is that we have to cross this short bridge. The game does not want you to, and every time you try to, Yangus will call back to you and say, you're stupid, that's not what we're doing here. But our goal is to menu cycle and get through it before Yangus realizes that we're gone, in which case we can glitch out the game a little bit. Now, the best setup I found for it, there's these barrels you'll see me picking up. Once you have the barrel, as soon as you cross the line that the game doesn't want you to cross, Hero will throw the barrel, after which Yangus calls you. So you have a very small window. Hero throws the barrel, and there's a very small window between that and when Yangus calls you. And so you don't have to worry about exactly where the line is that the game thinks you shouldn't cross, because Hero will start throwing the barrel as soon as you cross it. And then it's just menu cycling to get across. So we'll see that happening in a little bit. Also, you'll notice that all of a sudden I speed up very quickly holding the barrel. The reason for that is I hit the diagonal, the up left diagonal, and we'll talk after I get through the trick and everything else about exactly how that works and how you get that faster speed of movement. But for now, let's just watch the opening trick happen. Now, a couple things to note. First, that last cycle wasn't really necessary. Just get a little superstitious. I had one run where I thought I was totally through, and then Yangus called me back. So I always do just one extra one just in case, something like that. Also, you'll notice, you heard that beep very quickly after I left the menu. The window was very short, and you can enter the menu very quickly afterwards. Now, the goal here in this encounter is just to die very quickly so you can get to Fairbury through a death warp. I psych up here, the reason being the game, after you've psyched up to 50 enough times, allows you to psych up to 100, so I figure while I'm dying, I might as well get a chance to psych up a little bit. But as you'll see, I had a bad input, so it didn't actually work out that way. And the reason I headed up into that forest a little bit was because the enemies there are a little bit stronger, and you get faster encounters being on either grass or the forest than you would on the road. On the road, you get more steps between encounters, and then there's less in grass and less finally in forest. Now, here in Fairbury, you'll notice there are no NPCs. They haven't spawned because we crossed the bridge they didn't think we would cross. But I still want to go through here and ransack the place a little bit. The only way to leave, because the game right now thinks you're about where you would be if you first started the game. And when you first start the game and go to Fairbury, you're not allowed to leave until you've done all the cutscenes. So we're not allowed to leave Fairbury right now without doing all those cutscenes. Luckily, however, you can get out of Fairbury if you use a wing to get out. So our goal right now, getting some healing items, getting some defense items, because we have to run from a lot of encounters, and we won't be able to run from every one of them, we'll get beat up a little bit. 2, to get that wing so we can actually get out. Now, being on an arcade stick, there's only one stick instead of having 2 analog sticks as you would on an actual controller. So the way I'm running diagonally is the left button and right button buttons actually move the camera. So I'm using the arcade stick, moving that all the way into the upper right direction, and then moving the camera with those left button and right button buttons to spin the camera. Now, the reason why you move faster in the far extreme diagonal direction Running seems that has two speeds. There's a walk speed and a running speed, and the game speeds you up the further you are from the center on your analog stick. So what we think happens is when you're in that far extreme up left, down left direction, the game sees that you're even further than you would be when you would run and speeds you up again. So you seem to have three speeds: walking, running, and then diagonal running. So see, all the Dragon Quest 8 runners do a lot of diagonal running and play with the camera a lot because they want that extra movement speed. Now that's only true for running. It's not true on, for instance, the boat, where we'll be in a second. A reason why the boat only has one speed, so it's never checking where you are. It just gives you your same speed, so there is no acceleration to be had. So once you've done that opening trick, all of this is possible, but now is where the luck comes in. We have to get all the way to Hilltop Hut and grab the slime crown without dying. Because once we die, we're stuck in Fairbury forever and we can't get out because we already grabbed the only wing that's in there. Now if I was going to do an RTA, I would change things a little bit. At the very beginning when you cross that bridge, I would try to get all the way into the waterfall, fleeing from everything, because there's an extra wing in there, and that would give you 3 attempts of this instead of just 2 attempts for this. Because it's segmented, I can always just reset every time it doesn't work. But in an RTA, I would not want to reset that much before any attempt even happens. So I would try to get that extra wing so you get 3 attempts on this, and luck would not be as much of an issue. Though it would still be an issue. And yes, I've had runs die just right here, where all of a sudden 4 bunnies block a flea and keep attacking you and never letting you run, and you just die right here without even getting on the boat. So the reason I'm running around aimlessly right now is trying to get one more encounter before I get on the boat, in the hopes that that resets the steps between encounters. But I think actually looking at this attempt, I don't think that they're as connected as I thought they were, because as soon as I'm on the boat I get an encounter fairly quickly. Now once we're on the boat, there's a couple things we're going to do. Our eventual goal is to get to Hilltop Hut and grab that crown, but we're going to take 2 little detours. The first one, we're going to try to go into Pirate's Cove. The reason for that, once you've gone into Pirate's Cove, after you eventually get the slime crown, that will restock the entire world with NPCs, they'll all come back. The problem though is you will lose the boat. But Chrissy Boy actually found that if you've been to Pirate's Cove, you can warp to Pirate's Cove and then cast a vac. And if you don't have the boat, the game will then give you the boat. Which is going to be how we re-get the boat after we respawn all the NPCs. But that's a few segments from now. Now as you exit Pirate's Cove, the game wants you to go to the right and lines you up just like that. So you actually start going backwards. And yes, I've had some runs end where, not even thinking, I just kept going in the direction that the game wanted you to, realized I was going in circles and wiped out. Now luckily I did find you don't have to get all the way to Hilltop Hut. You can actually stop partway through at Port Prospect. And the reason to stop there is you can reset your luck a little bit. Now the reason to stop here at Port Prospect, there's an extra wing. So if you die, and spoiler alert, we're totally gonna die. If you die, you can warp straight back to Port Prospect, take the ship from here, and just go from here to Hilltop Hut. Also, later on in future segments, we will want to warp here so we can grab a spear, among other things. And now we already have the zone. And yes, grabbing that last barrel was a mistake. As you'll see, the closer and closer I get to actually completing this at Hilltop Hut, I am freaking out. Because the luck is so incredible, and as a result, I make some little stupid mistakes like that. And you'll note still no NPCs anywhere at all. They don't spawn until you grab that slime crown from Hilltop Hut. So there's one boat encounter, and then land encounter between here and Hilltop Hut. The landing spot, very easy to see. Just after we get past these mountains, there'll be a little tiny ridge, very easy to spot. That's where you want to dock, and you run off from there over to Hilltop Hut. So really easy to see. Now all we have to do is run up to Hilltop Hut. And there's really about one encounter between us and there. And look, it's the slime hands. They're not that bad. Muddy hands. All they really do, they'll call for backup. That's not that big of a deal. So long as they don't attack, we're fine. And they attack. Yeah. And even though it only does 27 damage, we only have 25 life, so that's it. But luckily, because we'd grabbed that wing at Port Prospect, we now have a second attempt at it. But this is where that extra minute comes from, because now we have that extra death, we have the time waiting to revive, we now have to walk through Port Prospect, we finally get to the boat, we have to sail back to the same way we went, go through those same two encounters. So the way you'd save time is to just dock here and then keep on going, and that would be about a minute faster than this one is. And this one ended up being, I believe, 16 minutes IGT, it'll say at the very end. So I flee from these bombs, and we're basically there. And here's where I start freaking out because I actually flee correctly. And you know right away that you fled correctly because you have the music. And so you freak out a little bit. Oh, wrong way. No, no. Keep going straight, then to the left. As you see, it's just right there. So you just have that one encounter, and then you're there. You're at Hilltop Hut. All I have to do is go down there and grab the crown. I am freaking out right now, and you'll see my execution suffers quite a bit. Pressing all sorts of wrong buttons. What I want to do is go left and grab the crown. Instead, I mash too fast. All of a sudden, climb the rope again. So I have to go back down again. Now, as soon as you pop off this crown and we climb back up, you'll notice NPCs have spawned. You'll see some small farm creatures, and once we're at Fairbury, we'll have all the real creatures. Now, it's possible to save right here at Hilltop Hut because there are NPCs in there, but then we'd have to get back to Fairbury, which is really difficult because all the enemies around here can one-shot you, and it's a long walk back to Port Prospect. So, best solution, walk around, get an encounter, die, and then you'll death warp back to Fairbury. And now we're back here in Fairbury. We have NPCs, we can advance the plot. Still some few things we need to do. We'll need to get some levels, we'll have to get the party back and such. But, as we'll finally see, we've skipped a whole bunch. Now we'll see you come up in a second. Final in-game time is 16 minutes. So now on to go in the second segment.